This is Edward Douglas from Cinema Daily US, and I'm here to review The Friend, the new movie from filmmakers David Siegel and Scott McGehee, which premiered at the New York Film Festival. The duo has been making feature films for over 30 years, going back to Suture in 1993, as well as The Deep End, one of Tilda Swinton's early breakout roles. That was followed by B Season, What Maisie Knew, and a bunch of others. The Friend may be one of their more commercial efforts, adapting Sigrid Nunez's novel into film that often feels like it's based on a novel. But it's very much a vehicle for Naomi Watts, who was paired with a Great Dane named Bing for a movie that is yet to be picked up for distribution, despite having played a number of festivals this season. It's a little surprising because it really is a movie that could be easily marketed, but only if they try to make the movie look more like a comedy, which it isn't really a comedy. Naomi Watts plays Iris, an editor and literary professor whose author friend Walter, played by Bill Murray, has committed suicide. He bequeaths his Great Dane Apollo to his close friend, the problem being that Iris lives in a New York City studio apartment and is not allowed to have dogs. The rather large pooch, who is clearly mourning his dead master, immediately becomes a major inconvenience for her, and she can't seem to get Apollo to cooperate with anything she tries to get him to do. And none of Walter's other friends, including his widow, want to help her by taking the dog off her hands. As you can imagine, the idea of the 5'5" Oscar nominee wrangling a beast that's almost as big as her is something that can offer some big laughs. But as I said earlier, The Friend isn't really a comedy, and those moments are countered by far more serious moments about loss and grief. Some might think that would take away from the crowd-pleasing aspects of The Friend, but that isn't the case. Watts handles herself quite well, even though she's not necessarily known for doing comedy. The one actor in the cast who is known for doing comedy is Bill Murray, and some might get disappointed when he quickly disappears from the film almost as soon as it begins. He does return later for a flashback sequence, and then he has a rather terrific dialogue sequence with Watts, although it's not very clear if that moment is really happening or if it's an excerpt from a book that Iris is writing. Like I said earlier, Siegel and McGee go for a very literary approach to the storytelling in this one. The filmmakers also surround Watts with a lot of great actors like Ann Dowd, who plays her neighbor, Carla Gugino, who plays another one of Walter's wives, and Sarah Pigeon as his grown daughter. Though most of these characters do seem superfluous because it's really more about Iris and Apollo. That's especially the case with Constance Wu, who plays Walter's widow and only has one major scene with Watts. That's so bad and pretty forgettable. One wonders why cast such a known actor in such a small role in the first place. Similarly, all the stuff with Iris at her school, interacting with her students, seems to serve very little purpose to the overall story. And at 2 hours long, The Friend often feels like it could lose some of that extra fat, which distracts from the main story. There's also a decision made towards the end of the movie that might annoy dog lovers who will want to see this movie mainly for Bing, who pretty much steals every single scene from Watts. Those who remember the dog movie Marley and Me might have some idea where things are going, but maybe not, because the filmmakers deliberately are trying to pull the wool over the eyes of viewers, which they might not appreciate. That said, Siegel and McKee are solid filmmakers, and they're especially good when setting their films in New York City because they are so knowledgeable about the city and its locations. I do have to question why Iris keeps walking Apollo in different parks because it's unclear whether she lives near Washington Square Park or Madison Square Park, but we see her walking Apollo in both parks. To me, that seems kind of odd as a non-dog owner because you would think that if you have a dog, you would walk it at the closest park to you. You wouldn't like travel across town. And so later on, when Apollo is being walked in Central Park, you're like, well, that's not anywhere near those other two parks. Why is she traveling all the way to Central Park? It's a minor quibble, and most viewers, especially those who don't live in New York, probably won't be bothered by that fact. Overall, The Friend isn't bad. I do hope it finds distribution. I think it would be a perfect fit at Sony Pictures Classics, which happens to have offices in New York that overlook some of the locations where the film was shot. I still would only give the movie a B rating, though. It does feel like it could use some serious editing to make it flow better, and when your dog star is more interesting than your human cast, some might see that as a problem.